welcome to
the most epic Holly Jolly
Christmas Showdown.
I'm Amanda Figueroa.
And I'm Adriana York, formerly Figueroa.
And we are just two sisters who love Christmas and competition. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Whoa. Yeah. We're back in it.
Yeah, we are.
We took a week off for
family stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. So that's why, but we're back on it and we're getting ready to get started.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on top of that, my daughter and I got sick. So if I'm fairly breathy, I'm so sorry. I just still can't breathe through my nose. Okay, well, before we get started with everything, our weekly Christmas cheer.
Yep.
What's yours?
So this past week was Easter weekend. And so my weekly Christmas cheer was actually Good Friday. We had our Good Friday service, and it was just, it was so good. It was so loud. You know, not loud like the worship band being loud. It was just like everyone in there was just like giving praise. And, you know, it was really nice. And kind of with that was the Thursday before, I was teaching my students at English Gateway about Easter, and it was just so good. They were so interested, and they were like so willing to learn. They were asking questions, and it made my heart nice and warm.
Yeah, Easter is a good time. Mine is also with Easter. We went to sunrise service on Sunday at 6:45 a.m. My daughter's wake-up time is 7:30 normally. And I got her up and my husband up, and we were all there 5 minutes early. So that was already, it was so nice.
Yeah.
And then second, when we were there, my daughter, I put her like up on my kind of like collarbone because she gets a little heavy. And when I put her up, she was so cute. She was like raising her hands while we were worshiping, and she was like clapping around and just like having a good old time. And I was like, well, this is a lot of fun. Like, I normally don't have her in big church with us. She's normally in the nursery. So I think she was just really enjoying like the vibes and the good music and just being with everybody.
Yeah.
So it was really nice. Well, if you're new here, the way that our episodes work is we start off with a summary of the movie. So if you don't like spoilers, you don't want to listen to that because we kind of give like some pretty important details in those summaries. If you don't mind a spoiler, then keep listening. We're going to kind of give you a rundown of the movie. And then after that, we head into our scoring, and we have 5 categories that we use to score our movies. It's plot, main character, aesthetic, overall Christmas cheer, and supporting characters. And then we end with our cringe factor because typically in Christmas movies, there's a little bit of cringe, and so we have to take that into account. And then we total up our scores and then see where the movie falls in the category. Today, we are looking at Krampus. It is the first movie in its category, so it's going to start off really strong because it's number 1 already.
Yeah.
So without further ado, here we go.
Let's look at Krampus.
Yeah. Krampus is a 2015 production, and our opening scene features the chaos of pre-Christmas festivities. Fights breaking out in stores for Christmas gifts, parents trying to make kids smile while getting pictures with Santa, and even a fight between 2 young boys at a Christmas play. Back at a house, we see a grandmother baking and quickly hear the rest of the family walk up to the house bickering. Our family? Of course, the family of one of the little boys fighting at the play. Dad Tom, Mom Sarah, Sister Beth, and Max, our little fighter. We learned that Max, our valiant Christmas crusader is what I'm calling him, truly loves Christmas. He got into the fight because the other kid was saying Santa isn't real. He has an expectation for his family to all be together and participate in their Christmas traditions, and even still writes letters to Santa. But unfortunately, he is only one of 2, kind of like one of 1.5 people in his family who still believes in the magic of Christmas. The only other person being his Omi, his grandmother. And she's kind of iffy, which is why she's like half.
Yeah.
She has a really ominous look when she says that she believes and follows up with, I believe that Santa is what you make him to be.
Dun, dun, dun.
Interesting. This odd moment between Max and his Omi is quickly interrupted by the Hot Mess Express. His Aunt Linda and Uncle Howard and their 4 children, Howie, Stevie, Jordan, and baby Chrissy. As well as surprise Christmas guest, Aunt Dorothy, his great aunt.
Don't forget Rosie, their bulldog.
Oh yeah, Rosie. Rosie as well. Because Rosie is important.
Yeah.
Tensions and frustrations ramp up even further with the arrival of the Hot Mess Express, and while at dinner, Stevie decides to read Max's letter to Santa for the year that he was eager to send out. While reading this letter, a very sweet and selfless letter for a young kid, I might add, like literally nothing about him.
Nothing. He was literally asking for his family.
Like peace and happiness and joy.
Yeah, and even so much as asking for his aunt and uncle to have an easier year that year.
Financially.
Yeah, and she decided to make fun of him because he wanted to write a letter to Santa.
Yeah.
More on that later.
Yeah. Stevie gets upset while reading the letter, like you said, and the second fight of the day erupts at the dinner table. This fight and Stevie reading his letter in front of his whole family is what finally causes Max to lose his Christmas spirit. He grabs his letter, runs to his room, rips up the piece of paper, and throws it out of his window. Suddenly, supernaturally, a giant storm accumulates over the house. The next day, December 23rd, the family wakes up to snow, and lots of it. Very suddenly and very unexpectedly. I don't know where it's at, but it seemed like they were not aware that snow could happen. But they had snow stuff.
No, they had a snow plow, so they knew that snow was happening. I just don't think that
it was on the radar.
Yeah, no blizzard was on the weather forecast or anything like that.
And that's what it was. It was a blizzard. Accompanying the snow is a very ominous and massive snowman in the front yard that Max calls attention to, but his parents are more concerned with the loss of power and hot water. The doorbell rings, and somehow a delivery man made the trek through the storm to deliver a package to the house, and Uncle Howard brings in a Santa sack of toys that was on the front porch. Concerned about her boyfriend, Beth gets permission to walk to his house to check on him. On her journey, darkness covers her, sleigh bells sound, and a very large creature hops from rooftop to rooftop, pursuing her. Shouting for help, Beth is hopeful when she finds the delivery man's truck, but only to find him dead. And with a scream and a shake of the driver's truck, we can assume Beth is in some trouble. Once Beth doesn't return, the family gets skeptical and a little worried. Night falls, and Tom and Uncle Howard decide on a plan to do some recon and go find Beth, despite Omi's concern of the danger they may face. While doing this recon, the two find Beth's boyfriend's house completely wrecked and, curiously, with a gingerbread man stabbed to the fridge.
Yeah.
What happened there?
A giant gingerbread man. Don't think the little cookies. It was
probably 6 inches or so.
Yeah, I
don't think they were that big.
Maybe right here.
Yeah, but he was a thicken.
Yeah.
Even more concerning, they find no Beth. Back at the house, things get weird when the family hears scurrying and weird sounds coming from upstairs, followed by a shake of the house. Omi, oddly enough, looks up the chimney. Tom and Uncle Howard make it back to the house, and everyone is stressed and go into defense mode. They board up the house, and the men take shifts keeping guard. First up is Uncle Howard, and he falls asleep. The fire starts to fade, the phone playing Christmas music dies, and the night begins. Mm-hmm. Chattering fills the house from the upstairs floor. A hook emerges from the chimney with a gingerbread man attached to it, and Howie, the boy cousin, awakes and takes a bite out of the gingerbread man and is quickly tied up and snatched up the chimney. The family wakes and tries their hardest to prevent Howie from disappearing with the gingerbread man, without luck. Shocked and confused, the family sits in the living room as Omi shares what she had been fearing what was coming for them. Krampus. She shares of her past, when she had lost her Christmas spirit and wished for her family to be gone, and her own personal run-in with Krampus and his minions. Omi was left untouched as Krampus's reminder of what happens when Christmas spirit gets lost. Skeptical of the story's validity, The family tries to devise an escape plan when suddenly the truth of Omi's story slaps them in the face. Mm-hmm. Toys came alive and start luring the twins into their demise. A Chucky-looking Christmas angel attacks. A toy robot stabs Tom, and gingerbread men use power tools. Max realizes his part in their story as he looks outside and sees an outline of a large figure that he knows is Krampus. The family fights and fights, but each time Krampus's minions come back until they are joined by evil elves and the Krampus himself. One by one, each of Max's family is plucked away until only Max is left, with a bell from Krampus and Max's ripped letter to Santa crumpled at his feet. Refusing to accept a world without his family, Max bravely and fiercely marches up to Krampus's camping spot, area that he was taking over for
ritual site.
Yeah.
Don't know.
And demands Max's life in return for his family's. With the throw of Krampus's bell, the earth splits open to reveal burning molten lava. Krampus pauses, contemplates, and then yeets Max into the burning earth. Max startles awake in his bed the morning of Christmas Day and is relieved to find his whole family in the living room, happily enjoying Christmas morning together. Everyone opens gifts, shares smiles and laughter, and Max opens up a gift of his, only to find the Krampus bell. Mm-hmm. Everyone grows quiet, faces shift, and everyone realizes that their nightmare was indeed real. The movie pans out to reveal the house in a snow globe amongst hundreds of other snow globes on display in a dark and creepy cave. And that, kids, is what happens when you stop believing in Santa.
More like when you lose your Christmas spirit altogether.
The end.
The end. Yeah, no, we watched that movie probably 4 or 5 years ago randomly.
Yeah, I don't think we watched it in 2015 when it came out.
No, it was definitely not. I think I started watching it when I was in college, and it was me and my little brother and my mom, and we were like, sure, let's watch this movie. And then we were hooked on it. And so now it's been kind of like a Christmas staple.
Yeah.
So
we all very much so look forward to it.
Yes. So let's get into our scoring. Plot. What did you give it?
I gave it 4.5 candy canes out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah. I really love this movie. And I think it flows well. Before you go and ruin my cheer, I think it flows really well, and it's different. Mm-hmm. Because normally it's all about getting somebody's Christmas spirit back, but Krampus is nah, you lost it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're done for.
Yeah.
Even though he was supposed to leave Max as a reminder of making sure that you keep your Christmas cheer. Mm-hmm. But I felt like it was unique. I felt like it flowed well. Mm-hmm. And the only questions that I really had were the snow globe part. I'm kind of confused about that.
Yeah.
I think that could have used a part 2.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so if Max was left, but his family is now in a snow globe, then why... where does Omi come if she was also left as the reminder? Mm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did she escape the snow globe or what?
Yeah. So, because there are a lot of questions that I had too, so I gave plot 3 candy canes out of 5. Again, I agree. It was an interesting plot. I love watching this movie. I love that there's an evil counterpart to Santa. Mm-hmm. And basically, like you said, what's the other side of losing your Christmas cheer? Bad things happen. This is the other end of it. It's what the Grimm brothers fairy tales used to be before Disney got a hold of them, where it was well, if you do this, this could happen to you. And it's scary stuff instead of oh, fairy tales. No, they're supposed to scare kids out of doing things. So that's what it felt like to me. There was a lot of questions for me that went unanswered, and that caused I don't think the movie fully developed because of those questions. And then there was plot holes for me. Like, I just didn't...
What?
Like, I don't understand. So he's supposed to be a more ancient spirit than Santa, a darker spirit. That's what Omi said. And so I was like, he was always around? Then what was his good counterpart then? Also, like, his minions. The elves, they kind of make sense to me as, like, they could just be his followers. But where did the toys and the gingerbread men come into play? Like...
Well, maybe Christmas was a thing before Santa.
Well, obviously.
No, but, like, that's where, like, the toys and stuff came in.
Yeah, but just, like, the evil counterparts. I don't know. That to me, I was like, it's interesting. What happened to all the people in the blizzard?
Yeah, I did wonder about that as well. But it makes sense if they're stuck in a snow globe.
But I don't think they were originally stuck in the snow globe because the delivery guy showed up.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like, why was the boyfriend's house wrecked?
Yeah, and, like...
Maybe Krampus visits everyone. Like, Santa visits all the good boys and girls at night on Christmas Eve. Krampus visits all of the naughty, like, not believing ones.
Yeah, so for me, that was just a lot. Because I was like, where did everyone else go? Like, they couldn't get a hold of anyone. And, you know, if they were in a snow globe, I feel like they wouldn't even get past their front lawn. You know what I mean?
That's true, yeah.
And so, yeah, are they dead? Like, that's the question that I have too, like, at the end of it, is because they all get, like, eaten or they get sucked away or something like that. Like, you know, one of them got eaten by a giant Jack-in-the-Box monster. And so I'm like, is it just like now they're spiritually stuck in that snow globe? I don't know. It's a very interesting. And then, like, the remnant, why didn't Omi work harder beforehand to make sure that her family didn't lose their Christmas spirit if she knew what happened?
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot of those things.
I did kind of wonder that.
Yeah. She was just kind of, like, letting it happen. I would have been working so hard if I saw that thing in my childhood.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if she just, like, let it happen. I think, like, she was, like, really vibing with Max. And she's like, yeah, I do still believe. I believe he is what you make him to be. You better not believe.
I would have really made sure to make sure my son, like, Max's dad, would have kept the tradition going, would have worked harder. I don't think I would have been okay with seeing the situation playing out. Also, why wasn't she at dinner? Like, that's one that I had.
Oh, she wasn't?
No, and so, for context, when Stevie reads Max's letter, they're at dinner. They're at the dinner table. But I was counting the chairs, and there's no chair for Omi. She's not there. So it's like, at the heads are Max's dad.
Tom.
No, Max's dad and Max's mom. Then on the side...
Tom and Sarah.
Huh?
Tom and Sarah. You said no. Like, that's not his name. I'm like, his name is Tom.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Tom and Sarah, Max's mom and dad. Then Howard, Howie, Max, and then his sister Beth. Then on the other side is Aunt Linda, the girls, and then their Aunt Dorothy. And nowhere do you see Omi.
Maybe she's cooking.
No, because then the mom made all that weird stuff that no one wanted to eat. So that's the thing. I'm like, where was Omi? And, like, what is going on? So there was just a lot of questions for me in terms of when I'm scoring it for this podcast that I was like, I couldn't ignore.
That's fair. I didn't even realize that she wasn't there. Oh, let me say that again. I didn't even realize that she wasn't there.
No, I didn't notice it until this last time that we were watching it. I asked Mom, where's Omi?
And if only she were there.
If only she were there, she would have been saying, Stevie, shut up.
Yeah, literally. She would have, like, smacked that letter out of her hands.
Also blame the entirety of the family's demise on Stevie and Jordan.
Oh, they are awful.
They are awful. Again,
literally awful.
They were so set on making fun of Max that they're the reason why their family ended up in that situation.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on to main character or characters.
Who was yours?
Just Max.
See, I was confused. Like, honestly, at times it felt like Max was a supporting character. Like, he was just, like, the hero in the movie, but, like, not a main character hero.
I can agree with that, but I don't
know who else would be. Yeah, because I don't agree with my rule of, like, oh, if they have a scene by themselves.
It doesn't work here.
No, because Beth was, like, there for 0.25 seconds.
And she had her own scene where she's talking to her boyfriend, but she wasn't a main character.
Or, like, her walking to his house.
Also, this should be in plot. That was a huge subplot. Her boyfriend, just randomly, I want to go see him. It gives reason for her to get taken up, but also, like, there was no reason for it.
That is true.
Yeah. But back to main...
Yeah, she was kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
And then Aunt Linda has her own scene.
Where she's up there with the toys. Yeah. I couldn't figure out who it was, so I stuck with the fact that it was because of Max ripping up the letter and losing his Christmas spirit that Krampus came.
I went with Max and his parents. Because Max is obviously, like, the reason, and then his parents are, like, two of the higher paying actors, so.
That is true.
So I just went with how much they cost.
How much it cost to cast them. I feel like in some of these cases that's kind of how you have to go, because it was really hard to figure it out.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know. I, like, sometimes I was also like, okay, a majority of the family, like, the adults in Max were main characters.
But then it was also like, I wouldn't put Linda in that category.
Yeah.
I would probably put more of Howard in that category because he's also a high-paid actor.
He's a very high-paid actor.
But he also plays a lot of supporting characters, so I feel like that's justified.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really tough, and so it reflects in my score.
Yeah.
What'd you give it?
I gave Max 3.5 candy canes out of 5.
Okay. Yeah. I gave Max and his parents 3 candy canes out of 5.
Okay, so we're kind of in the same ballpark.
It wasn't awful, but, like, a majority of what I deducted was because I was unsure of who the main characters were.
See, what I put here was that he was a good character, and honestly, I felt so bad for him because I felt like he was bullied into losing his Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
So I felt bad for him there. But he was overshadowed by the supporting characters.
Yeah. I can see that completely. I liked the character of Max, but also it just wasn't like, wow. And I think you said it right. Like, he was overshadowed by the supporting characters.
Yeah.
And then, like, his mom, Sarah... She's one of those actresses that, like, she doesn't give much. So I didn't, like, necessarily love.
She's, like, always the distant mother. Unfortunately, I had watched this other horror movie that she was in. It was Hereditary. It is awful. It is so... It unsettled me in so many different ways.
I don't think I've watched that, thankfully.
Yeah, and I think I watched it twice, and I don't know why, but afterwards I was like, I can't watch this anymore. But she was like this unfeeling mother, kind of distant from her kids. It was a lot of the same thing. So yeah, she plays that role often.
Gotcha. But yeah, that was her. Like, she didn't give a whole bunch. And then I liked his dad.
I liked his dad. And
I liked how he was like, okay, we got to do this. He was pretty, like, set on what he was doing, so.
I'm just surprised, again, that Omi wouldn't have told her own son, like, at least the tale of a girl who lost her Christmas spirit and
But,
lost her whole family.
That's a good thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, why didn't she, like, make it into, like, a fairy tale type thing?
He seems so surprised about certain things, and then on his end, I know that he's in your main characters and not mine, but there was one thing that I just remembered. It always felt like, not always, but it often felt like in the movie, Max understood what she was saying more than his own father.
Yeah, because she spoke another language.
Yeah, German or like some, I would say it was German.
European.
I'm pretty sure Krampus is an actual German Christmas fairy tale. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I think maybe that shows that, like, she just spends more time with Max, and that's why Max was, like, the Christmas believer.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, either way, I actually kind of liked his dad more than I liked him.
That's fair. Yeah.
He was a little, I mean, and I guess because he was getting bullied, but he was, like, a little bit of, like, a little boy, like, a scared, hurt little boy to me that I was like, okay, get over it.
Yeah.
It's your fault. Like, own up. He did eventually, but he took some time.
Yeah.
And he would let his parents just, like, not care. He's like, bro, look at that scary snowman. And they're like, well, we don't have hot water. Why do we care about a snowman? And I'd be like, because who built it? Like, why didn't you ask that question?
Well, I think he said that he mentioned it.
Oh, yeah.
Because his mom was like, yeah, it's a nice snowman. Good job, Max. And he's like, I didn't build it. So who did? And she just ignored him.
That's true.
That's the whole thing. No one took him seriously on anything until Howie disappeared.
You know what actually made me really sad? This was an interaction between two of my main characters. But at the beginning, after Max got into the fight, he was like, they come back from his fight, and he was like, wait, where's everybody going? Like, we have all these Christmas traditions. I thought we were going to do them together. And then his dad looks at him, and he's like, after the stunt you pulled, you can do them yourself. And I was like, that is just really upsetting.
And rude. And, like, honestly, if he gave me that reason, I would have been like, okay, I understand you feel really strongly about this. You don't go and attack them. So we're going to do our Christmas traditions, but you only get one cookie instead of, like, 5, okay? And then we're going to talk about this after Christmas.
Yeah.
I would have addressed it like that instead of, like, you could do it yourself.
Yeah. Next category, aesthetic.
So I gave aesthetic 4 candy canes out of 5.
I did as well.
Yeah. And I was really excited for this section. This time I did include soundtrack as well. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, I kind of, like, enjoyed having Christmas, like, cheery Christmas music be so, like, ominous.
Yeah.
Or, like, such a, what's the word? Like a foreshadowing of something bad.
Oh. A lead up or something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not what I had in my head, but yeah. Like, you're getting it. But yeah, it was kind of nice. Like, it was still very much so happy Christmas music.
Yeah.
But, like, when you heard it, you're like,
you're like, yikes. Oh no.
And the opening scene.
The opening scene was so good. It has the song It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas by Bing Crosby. And it's like that cheerful music. We all think about it. It puts us in the mood. And what you see is, like, chaos in the store. You know, people fighting over toys. Like, it's all crowded. You know, you see people, like, stressed, like, paying to the dime for all their stuff, and it's just chaotic.
People getting tased.
Yeah, like getting, like, kicked out.
It's in slow-mo too, so, like, you just, like, see all these details, and the attention to detail that they had in that opening scene was beautiful. Like, it was so decked out. It was so decorated with Christmas stuff. Like, it was spot on.
Yeah, and then then it finally gets to the scene where Max is fighting this one kid, and it's just, you know, a great conclusion to the chaos, like kids fighting, you know, and
then it also like introduces us to his family without us even knowing it.
Yeah, you get to see them at the very end, and so then it's a great tie-in. I feel like it just really sets the tone for what the movie's gonna be like.
Yeah.
And yeah, that opening scene was so good.
I even loved at the beginning, like when they got to the house, how many desserts Omi was working on. Oh, that island was full, and that island is nearly as big as ours.
I know, yeah.
There was so many desserts. I was like, for how many people?
And then, then Tom goes, oh yeah, don't work yourself to death, Mom. She bought cookies at the store. I would have been pissed.
Yeah.
I feel like Omi had this like look of like, are you kidding
She's
me?
Like, that's why I didn't tell you about Krampus. I'm just kidding. It's because of attitude like that. That's why you're gonna get snatched.
Yeah. I loved their house too. I just really thought that it was cozy, but it also again created this good atmosphere for what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I love the difference between the families in terms of costuming. They really did a good job of showing that Tom and Sarah were the more high-class side of the family versus Sarah's sister Linda and her husband Howard. They're the lower end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked the costuming.
Yeah.
And I thought it all made sense really well. What also I liked was the animation when Omi was telling her story, of her Krampus story. It was animated, and it's... my husband's going to be so mad if I don't know, like, the specific type, but I don't know what it is. I think it's, like, something like 3D animation, I believe. But it's just, it's beautiful. And it's, like, it gives very much so, Caroline.
Yeah.
Like, those kind of vibes.
Coraline,
thank you.
Yeah, I was like, that didn't sound right. Coraline. And yeah, it wasn't quite, because Coraline is stop motion. It's like animation that looks stop motion-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I think what lacked for me was how Krampus looked and how his minions were a little cartoonish for me. Like the gingerbread men,
They're kind of cute.
Yeah, I enjoyed them, like, in terms of they kind of were funny to me, but it wasn't like they were scary to me. Like, when Sarah went up into the chimney grabbing onto Howie, like, I guess I would have freaked out to see a living, like, gingerbread man, but, like, to be like, you don't want to see what was up there. Like, I probably would be like, there was a live gingerbread man. Like, I would have...
Think gingerbread man, but he was moving.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how else to explain it. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
And, like, but I wouldn't necessarily be afraid of it.
Yeah. What was freaky, though, is that Jack in the Box.
That Jack in the Box monster.
That was ugly.
They did a good job on that in, like, the worst way.
Yeah.
It was, like, salivating, and it had, like, it was, like, fleshy and also, like, plasticky.
My eyes are watering because it was so ugly.
It was so ugly. That was the scariest one.
I don't know. The Chucky-looking Christmas angel? Did you see that?
That was creepy, yeah.
It was literally like a Christmas angel that you put on top of your tree, but think Chucky face, and then actually had wings that flapped. It was like a bird. For a while, I was like, what the heck is this? And it was a Christmas angel. A tree angel. Yeah,
I would say those two, they did a really good job. Again, this is going to be such a gross description, but this is what it is. A good job of making it like toy and flesh mingled into one. Because then she had that creepy little tongue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was disgusting.
That's just like wrapped around Sarah's neck and pulled her back.
And it was like in her ear.
Don't. that scene where they were fighting them, I was like,
I have more to say about that scene, but yeah, it was good.
It was good.
Really good. But also, I guess, yeah, and you're like, the minions were a little lackluster. The toy robot
Yeah.
Just looked like, what's the evil Transformers called?
Decepticons?
Yeah, it just looked like a Decepticon.
Mm-hmm.
And not like a well-done Decepticon.
Yeah, like, just like a dollar store version.
Yeah. And then the elves fit.
The elves fit. I thought the elves were creepier to me than Krampus.
Yes, I agree. I know, Krampus could have been scarier.
He just had, like, this frozen face. Like, this, like, off-center jaw. And, like, his mouth didn't close. And he just seemed so, like, hulking. Which, when you saw him, which didn't make sense for when Beth was getting attacked. You saw him moving.
Yeah.
And
he seemed, like, old and decrepit.
Yeah, and I just was like, he could have been scarier because they executed so well on his minions, and then he just showed up, and it's like, okay.
And he has hooves for feet, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can agree. And there wasn't, like, much about his costuming that was wow, but he wasn't really around enough.
Yeah.
But I even liked the snowmen and how you could tell that, like,
they were creepy.
Evil and creepy, yeah. But overall, like, the look of it was really well done. Yeah. Oh, the other thing that I was going to mention, his advent calendar.
Oh, I loved it.
I love that. I want it for myself. But then also, like, the ending credits, that was, like, for the main cast.
Yeah.
They were, like, in an advent calendar.
Yeah.
And so I loved that. And then also, like, for the continuation of all the credits, it was, like, all of the cast, the people who worked on the movie, like, all of their family Christmas pictures.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a sweet little touch.
Yeah. I did like his layer, though, when you, like, zoomed out. Yeah. I just felt like that fit with all the snow globes, which there was a lot of snow globes. So yeah. I was like,
also, why does he put him in a snow globe?
Yeah.
Does he just watch them like, hey, hey, hey?
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's just all I envision. Overall Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
I gave it 3.75 candy canes.
I gave it 4 candy canes.
Yeah. I did overall. It sounds so silly because it's a horror movie, so you wouldn't think that there would be that much Christmas cheer, but there was a ton. And I loved the fact that Krampus was, like, he was like, you better keep your Christmas spirit, you know?
Yeah. The fact that he left the person who essentially made the wish, and he's like, yeah, so this is what happened. You shouldn't lose it again.
Yeah. I was like, snaps, man. That is commitment to Christmas.
I mean, he was like, yeah. I'm not saying he's a good guy at all, but he definitely knows.
He does snatch families and stuff like that.
He does know the value of Christmas spirit. He was like, yeah, you know what? If you lose it, I'm coming.
Yeah.
So
I loved that, but I hated how, like, you didn't see anybody really get any Christmas cheer. Like, at the end, everybody was happy, but I think they were more, like, grateful to see their family.
Yeah.
Not, like, believing in Christmas magic.
And see, I would agree with you, but also that was his whole wish, was that he wanted Christmas how it used to be, and that's what ended up happening. And I think that going through all of that, them seeing their family, they're like, oh wow, we can enjoy each other more. And where, like, at the end, they had, like, a taxidermied beaver or something like that they were gifting to Sarah. Sarah at the beginning of the movie would have been like, thanks. And
tossed it literally in the fire in front of their faces.
And she definitely was like, at the end, she was like, oh, thank you. Like, oh, I have a taxidermied beaver. But then also, like, she was actually really grateful. Like, oh, thank you. You guys put thought into it or something like that. You know, so it was, I guess they could have done more to show the transition, but you can kind of see the transition a little bit.
Yeah.
Versus family dynamic at the beginning and at the end.
I felt like they could have talked about it more.
Yeah.
Like, I would have been like, oh, yay, Christmas, I love you, da-da-da.
Yeah.
Instead, they're just, like, happy moods together, which I know is different, but, like, it didn't really tell me that, like, they had Christmas spirit.
Again, I will mention soundtrack. The soundtrack really put me in the spirit. Again, considering what the movie is about, the soundtrack was so good. You know, almost kind of like I'm thinking of the iPad moment
Yeah.
Where they're all, like, watching something together in the living room. And then they were all asleep and they're all cozied up. And it was just, like, a nice moment where you hear White Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, it shuts off. And then it's go time for all of them. So
yeah.
I really did enjoy it.
I love the decorations, too, throughout the house. Sarah was into some wreaths. Her front door had a wreath on the outside and inside.
Yeah.
And then there was another wreath on top of the mantle.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then also, I don't know if you noticed, but in their living room, they had, like, 4 family pictures, and they were Christmas family pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. And so all of those things, I do feel like the family throughout the movie was coming together. I know it was out of fear, but, like, let's take Tom and Howard, for instance. Howard didn't respect Tom at the beginning, and as the movie was going on, he realized Tom is a different type of strong than I am, and in some cases, he's stronger than me. And so I think those were the things, like Sarah and Linda were mending some fences, you know? So I guess where I wish I saw more Christmas spirit was in Stevie and Jordan, and, like, them coming together with Max a little bit more.
Yeah, they could have apologized.
They could have apologized.
They should have apologized.
Yes. And so that is where it lacked for me.
Yeah, they were turds.
Honestly, Beth and Howie were insignificant. And baby Chrissy.
Yeah. Oh, baby Chrissy.
Totally forgot about her.
It made me so sad. I didn't forget.
Yeah.
She's coming up in supporting characters.
Okay.
But, okay, mentioning the scene where, like, they're getting attacked by the toys again.
Uh-huh.
I loved that attention to detail. So first off, they brought out, like, so many different, like, toys to be evil, like a Jack-in-the-Box. Okay.
Yeah.
When was the last time we've seen a Jack-in-the-Box?
Yeah.
And then also, like, the Christmas angel and the teddy bear and stuff like that. But I loved that Sarah was literally getting hung with Christmas lights. It was just, like, such a good touch that was, like, very on brand.
I also liked whenever Linda, first of all, the sack of presents.
Oh, that too. Yeah, I love that.
That came in was very much like it looked authentic. Like it could have been Santa's sack of presents. I'm not even kidding. And then she's upstairs and she's going through all the presents because the tree had caught on fire at some point. And so then this is before the toy fight scene. And the packaging of what the gingerbread men that came in, like the tin or something like that. Yeah. It was just so vintage. And it was so pretty.
Yeah.
And yet it was like you knew it was bad.
Yeah.
And then like the scene when Howard was fighting the gingerbread men, I just felt like it was so on brand. There was a gingerbread house right there. They had sharpened candy canes.
He was about to stab Howard with a candy cane.
And then, Rosie came and ate that gingerbread.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
Overall, pretty high Christmas cheer, but I did have to dock it because I felt as though, like, I really only saw, like, a whole bunch of gratitude from Max. And I wanted to see it from, like, everybody else.
And I understand that, but to be fair, Max was his consequence.
That is true.
So, you would want to see it more so from him.
That is true.
But I agree. I wish Stevie and Jordan would have apologized.
Justice for Max.
Yeah. Hashtag justice for Max.
Okay, that's what I'm putting on Instagram next.
Just randomly, it's like a picture and then like hashtag justice for Max. Hashtag Krampus.
That's so funny. Everybody would be like, what? Okay, and our last category, supporting characters. What'd you give them?
I gave them 4 candy canes out of 5.
I gave them 2.5 candy canes out of 5.
But considering that I put your main characters in with my supporting characters.
Yeah, and I didn't even really consider, like, everyone to be a supporting character.
Interesting. I kind of just lumped everyone together.
I mean, I did kind of too, but, like, I think the main people that I was scoring on was, like, the twins.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Howard and Aunt Linda. I have a note about baby Chrissy, but she was super irrelevant. And then I felt like I couldn't even mention Aunt Dorothy much. Like, I literally have more to say about Rosie than Aunt Dorothy.
That's fair. Yeah, for me, it's Max's parents. I did include Beth. Howie, for me, was irrelevant. Like, I did include Beth because she had more to say than Howie. Howie literally did not say a single word.
No, he actually didn't.
In that movie. He just stood there.
I think he just said, ah.
No.
When he was getting snatched up the chimney.
I literally think he was still silent even. His mouth was full of gingerbread.
That is true, yeah.
He took a honking bite out of that gingerbread.
And that gingerbread said, "You did what?"
Yeah.
That was so funny.
So Max's parents, his aunt and uncle. I did include Aunt Dorothy. So basically everyone except for Howie, I included. And I guess baby Chrissy, because I didn't really score on her either.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I think my struggle with scoring it was because I didn't know, like, exactly who was a relevant enough supporting character. And, like, Omi. Like, she had a big part to play, but then also didn't all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, what you mentioned in the main character is, like, yeah, the twins overshadowed Max because they were just so awful, but like that was it. That's really all the part that they played. Like, they could have been even more evil. And I just felt like I was like they were all important, but it was all really confusing as to like who was supposed to do what. You know what I mean? But Rosie, I loved her. Also, Rosie is actually Thor.
Yeah.
So they have a French-American English bulldog. They have an English bulldog. And in the movie, the character's name is Rosie. But in the credits, we learn that it's actually Thor. So I have an issue with that, too. I'm like, why couldn't he just be a boy? Why did he have to be a girl? And then, first off, Uncle Howard is like, Rosie, come with me to the kitchen. I hear something. And Rosie dips and goes to hide. And that reminds me so much of my sister's dog, Denali.
She's also an English bulldog.
She's a coward. And Rosie was spot on with that. But then Rosie comes up just so valiantly, right as Uncle Howard is about to get stabbed by a candy cane from a gingerbread man. Rosie comes and eats the gingerbread man. And then that's what sets her off on being a protector.
Well, and then she ends up scratching at the heating vent or whatever where the Jack-in-the-Box was, and she actually goes in there. And so I remember I was watching it, and Denali was with me, and I was like, listen, you need to look. This is what I expect you to do.
But then I was thinking about it. Did we see Rosie when we came back? Like, when they're in the snow globe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to go back and rewind to see, but I didn't rewind. But yeah. And then also, baby Chrissy. So irrelevant. Very irrelevant. And then this one part just really made me so mad and made me, like, cry.
Yeah.
So, like, after they had been attacked and, like, the toys came back and then the elves were coming, the whole family was, like, cornered. And baby Chrissy was sitting by herself on the floor. Just crying. Screaming, crying for her parents. And I was like, why'd they have to do that? And then an elf snatches her.
Well, and I have problems with that too, because Linda goes, the baby, and then Howard holds her back, and it says, like, essentially it was like, leave her.
Yeah.
And I said,
and then also Linda's like, Howard, why don't you have the baby? Like, there's so many times that she's like, why doesn't so-and-so have the baby? I'm like, why don't you have the baby?
Oh my gosh, they left the baby in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is their fourth child. So, like, it's kind of on brand. I mean, I don't have 4 children, but I feel like parents of 4 children, like, would get it.
Yeah.
But also, it makes me so mad.
I just feel,
we didn't need that. That was really heartbreaking.
Yeah, that one section, I do remember that. And I remember being mad at Howard when he held Linda back. Like, let your wife go. Why wouldn't you want to go get your kid?
Yeah.
And
he was so gung-ho on being like, let's go get Beth. And Beth is his niece.
And then he was all heartbroken when he lost Howie. Like, you know, his son. And so...
Oh my gosh, it was awful. I still have it in my head. I'm like, no, I don't like it.
So, on my end, again, I really loved the growth between Tom and Howard's relationship moving forward. I felt like that was such a big part of the movie, and it can also be kind of a subplot in a way.
Yeah. I don't think it was really a subplot.
Yeah, but it was like, it was just such a big part of the movie. It was like their growth together, because again, you saw them, like Howard really dogged on Tom a lot for not being the shepherd of his flock, you know, essentially that's what he kept saying. And then at the end he was like, no, Tom like really has it together, and like he's strong.
Yeah.
So I love that. Because Max was my only main character, I had to give credit to the supporting characters. They gave pretty much everything from comedy to any sort of feeling in the movie. Max, I felt bad for him. I felt sad for him, but he also didn't give a lot. Not a whole lot. So any feeling that I came from it was because Stevie and Jordan were being awful to Max, and that was creating that tension. Or, you know, you have the comedic relief from Howard, because that guy is a comedian, and you have Aunt Dorothy, who's also another comedic relief, and you have any sort of heartwarming feeling came from I would say Tom.
Honestly, Krampus.
Fair enough. I mean, he was, you know, he gave him a lot of time to work it out. I am curious if at some point there was some sort of like drastic change, would he have stopped? But I don't think so. I think once it's set in motion, he's like, I'm here and I'm coming.
Yeah.
I felt that all the women in the movie, and I had put in my notes except for Aunt Dorothy, and I'll stick with it, were annoying and didn't react in the right way.
Yeah.
Aunt Dorothy was, she was just she was just, dude, she was who she was.
Howie's biggest part in the movie was when Aunt Dorothy was like drinking some vodka or something, and she's just like, well, we're all going to crap. And then Howie's just looking at her, and she's like, no, I'm not giving you any. And then she's like, fine. And Howie takes a swig, and I'm like,
and then she started passing it around.
Yeah, to like the cousins and stuff.
Yeah. So
Aunt Dorothy, she was funny, irrelevant, but she provided what she needed to provide.
Yeah, and she played her role to a T. I loved the part where
although I am mad at her because she was the last one holding baby Chrissy.
That is true. But I love the part with when Omi was saying something in German, and then like Max is going to answer, and then she goes, we're screwed. And Max goes, how do you know? And she's like, I know.
She's like, I'm old enough to know when life is coming at you with its pants down.
Which I don't know what that means, but I guess I can get the picture.
Well, she said another word instead of screwed.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So now you get it?
Yeah. Now I get it.
And it's even funnier now.
It went over my head when I was watching.
But yeah, she was just so crude, so like filterless.
Yeah.
That it was fabulous.
But every other woman in that house, like including the girls, including Beth, they were just all so annoying, and they didn't react in the right ways. Like,
yeah,
I can go on a list. We've talked about Sarah. Like, you know, she just was like
From beginning to end, not present.
Yeah, so not present, you know. Didn't do what she needed to do as a mother, in my opinion.
Even like when the going got rough, she was just like, I should help.
When she got taken, she's like, take care. And then she just gets like swiped into the snow.
Like, that's it. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Yeah, and so Aunt Linda, I felt like, yeah, she had no control of her children, and she just let them run amok. And then
she was emotionally unstable.
She wasn't okay either. And with how emotionally unstable she was, I expected her to do more.
Yeah.
Like, in defense of her family, especially if she lost 2 of her 4 kids.
She had lost 3 at one point.
Yeah.
And then she saw Stevie on the ground, and then that's when she got, like mom strength and starts just, like, taking out the toys. But then again, like, next second, she's back to, like, a fragile little thing.
And then Beth, at the table scene, I really got annoyed when, if I were a sister and, like, someone was if I were a sister, I am a sister. But if you were in her position. Yeah, if I were in her position and, like, our cousins were messing with Butchie, our little brother, I would have been like, you want to say something else? Like, I would have caused the scene. But she was like, don't react. Don't say anything. Like, she held Max down.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
Especially if you don't like them.
Yeah.
Like, I will say something. I have said something in defense of my family.
Yeah.
So, like, I would have definitely reacted differently than Beth.
Yeah, and so that just didn't work out. Obviously, we talked about Stevie and Jordan. And Omi is another one that I just still can't get behind with, why wouldn't you do more, knowing what happened to you, to make sure that this didn't happen to your family? I feel like there's a lot of working pieces that led up to this moment that she could have herself at least worked harder to, like, talk to her son about. Tom, you can't let them act like that.
Well,
Tom,
did Tom never ask, like, why she never had any family?
You know,
I mean, I guess she was orphaned, so, like,
yeah,
she had probably had some sort of family growing up, but...
Well, to be fair, she was growing up in Germany, and, like, looking at the age that she was at, I feel like she could have easily made the excuse of a war, one of the world wars.
That makes sense.
So, that being said, but she still got me with, like, why were you so cryptic all the time? If you knew that it was, like, go time, then you should have been on it.
Yeah. I know, she would just say, like, random things that, like, people are like, what? Like, she was like, don't let the fire go out. Why?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know that we don't have heat, but, like, why?
And I understand it's a traumatic experience. You lost your entire family. I understand that. And it was your fault, essentially. But to make sure you don't lose this family that you created again, like, do something about it. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so that leaves us to our totals. So, all in all, I gave Krampus a total of 18.5 candy canes out of 25.
I gave Krampus a total of 15.75 candy canes out of 25.
Wow. So that gives us an average of 17.13 candy canes out of 25. But we have the cringe factor. Dun 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 dun. We're getting better at that.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you give Krampus?
I gave it a cringe of 0 icicles out of 5.
Wow.
There wasn't too much that I found that was cringy. I mean, like, I think potentially the gingerbread man could have been cringy, but, like, I enjoyed it. So I wasn't like, that's weird. And even, like, with Aunt Dorothy, with all of her crude comments and, like, irresponsibleness, like, it wasn't cringy to me.
I gave it 1 icicle out of 5. And for me, where the cringe came in was I just felt like I guess it's more of the questions like, Omi, why wouldn't you step up more? Why did everyone just let this kid be bullied at the dinner table? You know, like, you know, Aunt Linda was kind of cringy to me. You know, just all of her comments and things like that, you know, especially when she was getting the toys together up in the attic. Why did she have to go all the way up into the attic?
Yeah.
And then she's just like, I just want to have something wrapped for them for Christmas. And I'm like, okay. Like, it's just, it didn't feel like the most sincere cry. And so she just really got me. I think her always losing her child, where you can say, yeah, it's kind of on brand after having a fourth child. It was also kind of like, okay, ma'am, I mean, you're really not doing anything right now. So, like, where is your kid?
Yeah.
So I think that's where I gave most of my cringe. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that gives us an average cringe of half an icicle. And so subtract that from our average total, and that gives us an overall total of 16.63 candy canes out of 25.
Not too bad of a score.
It's not too bad. It's a good start.
Yeah.
For it. I don't know how this category is going to play out because I don't know.
This is the only movie she's seen.
This is the only movie I've seen, so I don't know any of the other ones. But I'm excited to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Violent Night, which is about a Santa who gets a little bit more involved in a family's Christmas than he anticipates. You couldn't even do like the little blurb that you normally do.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea what this movie's about.
I know, I was like, I should probably take over. But after that, not a clue.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little recon on that. But anyways, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Adriana.
Have a holly jolly day. Bye.